Hey guys, it's Mario from WKTL, and today I'm going to talk to you about beginner's guide to how to throw knives. We're going to do a very simple tutorial. Before we get started, I wanted to talk about the importance of choosing the right knife. I think over 7-8 years ago, we were looking at doing knife throwing in this facility in Burlington, where bad axe throwing actually originally started. We tried knives, we ordered all these knives from Amazon, and they were just going everywhere. They were ricocheting, they were so impossible to stick because they come in these various sizes. Some of them are too small, some of them are too light, and they're almost kind of like these small ninja stars that just bounce all over the place. Hence, the size of the knives that we use today. These knives are about 14.5 to upwards of 16 inches in length. This one weighs 1.6 pounds. Now, just to give you reference, 1.6, that's almost the size of a hatchet. And that's why these knives are so much easier to throw, and they also prevent you from being able to go through any of the fencing or cages that you would see at these facilities. So there's several benefits to these knives. The weight makes it so it's much easier to throw and much easier to release. So make sure when you start off knife throwing, you start off with the right knife. For the WKTL knives, and I'm only going to talk about these knives specifically, the throwing distance where you'll be able to do one rotation will be at the 10-foot mark. Again, this is specifically for these knives, and it's important for you to know that because if you buy a throwing knife that maybe has less weight, that is smaller, you might actually have to throw it from about 7 feet or 8 feet or even 6 feet. And I have done that with knives for a one rotation. You know, two rotation might end up being the 10-foot mark, and two rotations is very difficult when you're just learning. So this is just the early stages. I'm only gonna focus on the 10-foot mark. I gotta be honest, I'm not a world-class thrower like the champion Mike Philibom is. He's the first ever WKTL champion. He is so unbelievably consistent, but I know enough to be able to teach you how to properly throw the knives. Now, the way I throw it, and there's several grips. You can do a hammer grip, and I like to do the pinch grip, no different than axe throwing. So basically, what I'm doing is I am wrapping my fingers right around the knife, and I'm just pinching it. So it's a very light pinch. I'm not gripping it hard. It's a very light release, and I bring the knife back very slowly, and I throw it. It's literally the exact same throw as what I have for axe throwing. Again, it allows for consistency. You're bringing it back to the same point. Some people like to hold it higher, some lower, some will hold it straight, some will throw it from here and they'll flick their wrist. There's so many different variations, but for the basics of it, I'm just gonna show you quickly how to throw from the 10-foot mark. Very simple. I'm going to bring it back slowly. I'm gonna aim, and I'm going to release. So that one rotated actually quite well. It didn't rotate dead on. I actually like that rotation better than it sticking straight because I have more coverage. So I'm gonna aim for roughly the same spot again, bringing it slow and releasing. I'm gonna try grouping it again underneath, release. So there, in this scenario, I grouped them too close, and this is the difficulty of WKTL. You do 3 throws, then 2 throws, and then you switch sides and you do 3 throws and 2 throws. And so strategically, I probably should have gone out more, and I purposely was trying to group them as much as possible. But you'll notice all of these knives basically suck straight except for the first one, which was a bit more at an angle and had a lot more coverage. So the knives themselves, you have to make sure that you find a spot in the floor that you remember that you're always throwing from. Because remember, this isn't an axe you're throwing. You literally have this little point that you're trying to stick the knife in with. I'm gonna take one full step back, and I don't think this is gonna stick. Look at that, it over rotated. That's the difference between 1 foot. 1 foot difference, and the only reason I stuck it was actually because of the guard. So again, I threw it from, instead of the 10-foot mark, I threw it from 11, and I did the exact same throw. It over rotated. So if it over rotates, all that means is you have to take 1 step forward. Now, if I'm at the 10-foot mark, which I know works well for me, and I'm, let's say, a bit closer, this is going to under rotate, which you see there. It didn't fully rotate in, it has actually really good coverage. And this is great to maybe do the initial ones, but it could put you in a place where it might be dangerous. This is where strategy comes into place. And I've seen a lot of throwers do this for the first throw, then their second and third throws are a bit more pointed. So then they can group them a bit better. Now, we don't have to go to the advanced strategies of it, knife throwing, but those are the basics of it. I'm gonna show you the same thing with a different set of knives. Now, the Blackhawks weigh a lot more. They actually rotate a bit different for me. So I actually have to find my footing and I'm gonna make my adjustments. So I'm actually gonna start perfectly at the 10-foot mark. I don't know if it's gonna stick or if it's gonna over rotate or under rotate, but I'm gonna find out. So I'm holding it pretty low in the handle. The handle, you can hold it close to the guard. I like to hold mine low. And let's see how this rotates. So I'm gonna take it back slowly. Aim, release. So the rotation actually ended up being pretty good. So I'm gonna keep the same throw. And what I'm gonna actually do is that knife is rotated a bit to the inward. So I actually wanna get close to the bullseye. I'm actually gonna move to the side to try squeezing this one into the bullseye without knocking my knife over. Slow, and then in. I came really close to hitting that one. I'm gonna try it one more time from the same spot and see if I can get it. So again, just bring it back slowly, point, release. And there's nothing fancy you have to do to make it rotate. Axes, knives, they all have some sort of a distance where they will self-rotate. You don't have to do this or flick or force the rotation. You are literally aiming. Try keeping your wrist straight if you want. Some like to flick. I personally like to flick, and the flick works really well for me. So I do a little flick, I bring it back, and I release it. And all you're doing is you're basically letting go of the knife, and you'll see the grouping isn't great, but it's also not that bad. So those are the basics of knife throwing. In this video, I mainly wanted to focus on the grip. In this case, I like doing the pinch grip, which works extremely well for axe throwing, and it does work extremely well for WKTL, and the distance. Those are the two key elements, and finding out where your spot is on the floor so then you can do it consistently, because if you're stepping too far back, the knife is going to over rotate like that and not stick. But if you do it at the right distance, at the 10-foot mark, you bring it back slowly, release, then you have it. And it looks like I was slightly too forward there. Maybe I need about a 1/4 inch back from my spot on the floor. So that's it, everyone. The basics of knife throwing. Hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Let me know. I'll try to respond to all of them. Hope you guys enjoy. Make sure you subscribe to WKTL on YouTube. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram for more content. Thanks a lot, guys.